The cryptocurrency Wild West, a digital frontier where scams and speculation reign supreme.
Welcome to Finance Unfiltered, where we delve into the cryptocurrency Wild West, a digital frontier far more perilous and absurd than any legend. This landscape, often romanticized as a decentralized utopia, is instead an experiment in unsupervised capitalism, where traditional financial regulation has effectively gone to die. Within this expansive regulatory void, a disturbingly effective ecosystem of deception has flourished, allowing bad actors to brazenly execute schemes like classic pump and dumps, unconscionable rug pulls, and widespread initial coin offering ICO frauds. Investor protection, a fundamental cornerstone of any sane financial market, becomes a quaint, forgotten concept here, leaving countless retail investors vulnerable to the systematic extraction of their hard-earned capital.
Navigating the uncharted territory, an introduction to the cryptocurrency.
Greetings, intrepid explorers and cautious observers. Welcome to a journey into a digital landscape so wild, so untamed, that it makes the historical American West look like a meticulously planned suburban community. We speak, of course, of the cryptocurrency frontier, a realm where the promises of unprecedented wealth beckon. Yet the rule of law often finds itself taking an unceremonious permanent vacation. This is not merely an investment opportunity. It is an experiment in unsupervised capitalism, a grand spectacle unfolding before our very eyes, where traditional financial regulation has, quite frankly, gone to die. For decades, the financial world, particularly across North America, operated within a framework, however imperfect, of established rules, oversight bodies, and the occasional stern warning from a governmental entity. Banks were regulated, stocks were traded on exchanges overseen by commissions, and the general expectation was that someone, somewhere was watching. Then, the dawn of digital assets arrived, heralded by the enigmatic Bitcoin. And suddenly, the digital landscape stretched infinitely before us, devoid of signposts, speed limits, or indeed, traffic wardens. This is the uncharted territory we refer to, a place where innovation often outpaces legislation by light years, leaving regulators in a perpetual state of bewildered catch-up. Why does regulation seem to struggle so profoundly in this new digital domain? One primary reason is the very ethos upon which many cryptocurrencies are built: decentralization. These digital currencies aim to bypass centralized authorities, banks, and governments. They operate on global networks, transcending national borders with a click, making it exceedingly difficult for any single jurisdiction to impose its will effectively. Imagine trying to regulate a cloud. It is everywhere and nowhere all at once. Furthermore, the sheer pace of technological innovation in this space is dizzying. By the time a regulatory body begins to understand one iteration of a digital asset or a new financial product, 5 more have already sprung into existence, each with its own unique complexities and potential pitfalls. It is like trying to swat flies with a slow-moving bureaucratic sledgehammer. The practical implications of this regulatory vacuum are, to put it mildly, substantial. When there is no central authority to enforce rules, to vet projects, or to protect consumers, the environment becomes a fertile breeding ground for everything from genuine innovation to outright larceny. Investor protection, a cornerstone of traditional finance, often becomes a quaint, forgotten concept. If your bank account is suddenly emptied due to a phishing scam, you have recourse. If your digital wallet is drained because you fell for a cleverly disguised phishing link in the crypto world, your chances of recovery are akin to finding a needle in a digital haystack, blindfolded with both hands tied behind your back. This absence of oversight also paves the way for rampant market manipulation. Without clear rules against insider trading, pump and dump schemes, or wash trading, the playground for unscrupulous actors expands dramatically. Prices can be swayed by social media hype, coordinated buying, or simply the whims of a few large holders, leaving smaller and less sophisticated investors vulnerable to precipitous losses. The dream of quick riches often morphs into the stark reality of financial ruin, all under the banner of a free market that perhaps is a little too free. It is a stark reminder that while freedom is laudable, unchecked freedom in financial markets can quickly devolve into pure chaos, with the unsuspecting bearing the brunt of the damage. The allure of this cryptocurrency frontier remains powerful, certainly. It promises financial liberation, democratized access to capital, and an escape from the perceived inefficiencies of the old system. Yet, beneath this shiny veneer of revolution lies a fundamental truth. Where regulation is absent, accountability becomes a mere suggestion, and the wolves are free to roam amongst the sheep. For the North American investor venturing into these uncharted waters, understanding that the usual safety nets are either non-existent or riddled with holes is not just advisable. It is a matter of critical financial survival. We are not just exploring a new financial paradigm. You're witnessing what happens when the traditional guardians of financial integrity step aside or simply fail to materialize. This is indeed where regulation goes to die, and your vigilance, consequently, becomes your only true shield.
Schemes and scams, unpacking the initial coin offering frauds that make your head spin.
Welcome back, brave adventurers, to the cryptocurrency frontier, where fortunes are made and, more often than not, spectacularly lost. After our initial reconnaissance of this uncharted territory where regulation goes to die, it becomes imperative that we delve into the more colorful aspects of its ecosystem. Today we expose the endemic array of schemes and scams that infest this digital landscape, designed with elegant precision to relieve you of your hard-earned capital. Prepare yourselves, for we are about to unpack the pump and dump, the rug pulls, and the insidious initial coin offering frauds that are guaranteed to make your head spin, perhaps right off your shoulders. In a realm where anonymity is king and oversight a distant mythical legend, bad actors thrive with a brazen impunity that would make even the most seasoned Wall Street rogue blush. The absence of traditional investor protection mechanisms, combined with the intoxicating promise of overnight riches, creates a perfect storm for deception. It is a playground where greed often overshadows genuine due diligence, and where the unwary are merely fresh meat for the digital wolves. First, let us examine the classic, yet perpetually effective, pump and dump scheme. This particular brand of financial artistry involves a coordinated effort to artificially inflate the price of a lesser-known, often a liquid, cryptocurrency, the pump, only for the orchestrators to sell off their holdings at the peak, the dump, leaving unfortunate retail investors holding rapidly depreciating bags. How does this theatrical performance unfold? Typically, a group of insiders acquires a substantial amount of a cheap, obscure coin. They then disseminate a barrage of misleading information, hyperbolic claims, and outright lies across social media channels, Telegram groups, and Discord servers. They create an illusion of impending explosion, whispering promises of the next Bitcoin to anyone willing to listen. Novice investors, gripped by fear of missing out, FOMO, and a desperate desire for quick gains, pile in, driving the price upward. The perpetrators, watching from their digital ivory towers, then execute their masterstroke. They liquidate their positions, sending the coin's value plummeting back to its intrinsic worth, often zero. While sipping champagne purchased with your naive investment, it is a tale as old as time, merely repackaged for the digital age, yet its efficacy remains disturbingly consistent. Next, we encounter the truly unconscionable rug pull, a term that evokes the image of someone literally pulling the rug out from under you. This particular scam is a more modern, yet equally devastating innovation often seen in decentralized finance projects, DeFi. In a rug pull, the developers of a new cryptocurrency project, often anonymous and with minimal verifiable history, launch a new token, creating liquidity pools on decentralized exchanges. They generate significant hype, promising revolutionary technology or absurd returns. Investors, eager to be early participants in a groundbreaking venture, pour their money into these pools. The project gains traction, the token price rises. And then, without warning, the developers suddenly withdraw all the liquidity they control from the exchange, effectively cashing out all of the investors' funds. The token then becomes worthless, untradeable, and investors are left with nothing but a bitter taste and a significantly lighter wallet. It is an act of pure betrayal, a digital vanishing act that relies entirely upon the trust or desperation of the investing public. The brazenness of these acts is truly breathtaking. They walk away with millions, leaving a trail of digital dust and shattered dreams. Finally, we arrive at the progenitor of many crypto scams: initial coin offering ICO frauds. ICOs were, for a time, heralded as a democratic new way for startups to raise capital, bypassing traditional venture capitalists. In essence, a company would issue its own digital tokens to investors in exchange for more established cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. Promising that these new tokens would gain value as their groundbreaking project developed. The fraud, however, emerges when these projects are entirely fabricated. Perpetrators would concoct elaborate white papers detailing revolutionary, often incomprehensible technologies. Yes, they would create professional-looking websites, sometimes featuring stock photos as their team members, and even secure fake celebrity endorsements. They would make grand promises of reshaping industries, of monumental returns, all without an actual product, a viable business model, or indeed any genuine intention of delivering on their pledges. Investors, blinded by the potential for 100 BI returns and swayed by the slick marketing, would pour millions into these vaporware projects. Once the funds were collected, the team would simply vanish, along with the investors' capital. The regulatory bodies have since clamped down on many ICOs, classifying them as unregistered securities. But the ghost of this scam continues to haunt the crypto space, reminding us that a beautiful pitch deck does not always equate to a legitimate business. These schemes and scams persist because the cryptocurrency market remains largely unregulated, highly speculative, and prone to irrational exuberance. The speed at which these operations can be deployed, the global reach they command, and the often irreversible nature of crypto transactions provide a fertile hunting ground for those devoid of ethical considerations. It is a stark reminder that in this digital Wild West, your primary line of defense is not a sheriff or a federal agency. It is your own unwavering skepticism and rigorous due diligence. Do not let the promise of easy money blind you to the very real and present dangers. In the cryptocurrency frontier, if something appears too good to be true, it almost certainly is.
The speculative frenzy, understanding the exuberance that drives cryptocurrency.
Welcome back, digital alchemists and curious catastrophists, to the cryptocurrency frontier. Having navigated the treacherous waters where regulation performs its swan song and dodged the myriad of ingenious scams designed to separate you from your fiscal appendages, we now confront perhaps the most intoxicating yet ultimately dangerous aspect of this digital realm, the speculative frenzy. This is where the intoxicating aroma of potential riches combines with a potent cocktail of emotional contagion, leading to what economists, with their delightful knack for understatement, term irrational exuberance. Prepare yourselves, for we are about to explore how this psychological phenomenon drives cryptocurrency prices to dizzying heights and crushing depths, all while making a mockery of traditional financial logic. What precisely is this irrational exuberance? It is the collective delusion that grips market participants, causing asset prices to deviate wildly from any conceivable intrinsic value. It is the phenomenon where the promise of a concept, the shimmer of a new technology, or simply the sight of someone else getting rich, causes individuals to cast aside prudent analysis in favor of sheer, unadulterated hope. In the context of cryptocurrencies, this often means abandoning any pretense of evaluating technology, team, or utility, instead focusing solely on the line go up mantra. It is a mass hypnosis, a financial seance where rational thought takes a back seat to communal dreaming. The ascent to those dizzying heights begins invariably with a spark, perhaps a novel idea, perhaps a clever marketing campaign, or perhaps simply the right influencer at the right time. This spark ignites the fear of missing out, FOMO, a powerful emotional trigger that overrides even the most robust common sense. When Bitcoin or some obscure altcoin is making headlines for its meteoric rise, when your cousin's dog walker suddenly boasts of quitting their job after a lucrative crypto trade, the urge to participate becomes almost irresistible. The narrative, often skillfully crafted by those with vested interests, promises a brave new world of decentralized finance, financial liberation, and an escape from the shackles of traditional banking. Newbie investors, often lacking experience in financial markets, are particularly susceptible, viewing every price increase as proof of their nascent financial clairvoyance. This environment fosters a greater fool theory in practice. Each buyer believes there will be an even greater fool willing to pay a higher price for the asset in the near future. Social media acts as an echo chamber, amplifying hype, silencing dissent, and creating a virtuous or vicious, depending upon your perspective, cycle of buying pressure. The limited supply of many cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, further fuels this upward momentum, creating artificial scarcity that sends prices spiraling upwards faster than a rocket fueled by pure optimism. Metrics like total addressable market and community engagement replace mundane considerations such as earnings per share or sustainable revenue. Companies with little more than a white paper and a promise achieve valuations rivaling established corporations. It is a spectacle of collective fantasy, a digital carnival where everyone is convinced they hold a winning lottery ticket. However, as gravity is an inescapable force in the physical world, so too is reality in financial markets. The fall from these crushing depths is often swifter and more brutal than the climb. The moment doubt creeps in, the moment a large holder decides to take profits, or the moment a prominent figure expresses skepticism, the house of cards begins to tremble. The irrational exuberance quickly morphs into fear, uncertainty, and doubt FUD, triggering a panicked stampede for the exits. The same social media channels that once propagated unwavering optimism now become conduits for widespread panic. The inherent lack of underlying fundamental value for many cryptocurrencies means there is no solid bedrock to break the fall. Unlike a stock, which theoretically represents a claim on a company's future earnings, many digital tokens possess no such anchoring. This makes them prone to liquidation cascades, where leveraged positions are automatically sold off as prices drop, further accelerating the decline. Regulatory scares, macroeconomic shifts such as rising interest rates, making riskier assets less attractive, or simply the fickle nature of speculative attention can all serve as catalysts for a precipitous crash. Investors who entered at the dizzying heights, convinced the line would go up forever, are left with portfolios decimated, dreams shattered, and a profound, often bitter, education in market psychology. The speculative frenzy is thus a cyclical phenomenon in the cryptocurrency space. It is a roller coaster ride driven by human emotion rather than economic rationale. The thrill of the ascent is matched only by the terror of the descent. For the discerning investor, understanding this dance between euphoria and despair is not merely an academic exercise. It is a vital prerequisite for survival. The cryptocurrency frontier offers unparalleled opportunities, yes, but also unparalleled risks, largely because the prices are often dictated by collective delusion, not by sober assessment. In this digital Wild West, one does not merely invest. One participates in a grand, often unforgiving, psychological experiment. Your financial survival might very well depend upon your ability to recognize the irrational exuberance before it consumes your capital.
The dark side of the coin.
Welcome back, enlightened skeptics and bewildered bystanders. To our unflinching journey through the cryptocurrency frontier, we have marveled at its regulatory evasions and dodged its cunning financial traps. Now, however, it is time to peel back the shimmering veneer of digital innovation and confront a less glamorous, indeed a rather grim reality, the dark side of the coin. Today, we shall examine the considerable environmental costs and the frequently elusive lack of genuine utility that perpetually plague this much-vaunted digital territory. Prepare to have your enthusiasm tempered, perhaps even chilled, by the inconvenient truths that persist beneath the hype. Let us begin with the rather inconvenient elephant in the virtual room: the environmental cost. For all its promises of a greener, more efficient financial future, the mechanics underpinning many prominent cryptocurrencies, most notably Bitcoin, are shockingly energy-intensive. This is due to a process known as proof-of-work (POW), cryptographic puzzle that computers must solve to validate transactions and add new blocks to the blockchain. This mining process is not merely a few machines quietly humming in a corner. It is a global, arms-race-level competition involving vast warehouses filled with specialized hardware, consuming astonishing amounts of electricity. One might reasonably ask, what is the environmental price of a decentralized ledger? The answer, quite frankly, should make one wince. The annual electricity consumption of Bitcoin alone has, at various points, been estimated to rival, or even surpass, the energy usage of entire medium-sized nations. We are talking about the energy footprint of countries like Argentina, Norway, or even larger. To put it into perspective, every single Bitcoin transaction demands a quantity of electricity capable of powering an average American household for weeks, if not months. This energy, predominantly sourced from fossil fuels in many mining hubs, translates directly into a substantial carbon footprint, contributing to climate change with the same efficacy as countless traditional industrial processes. It is an ironic twist that a technology often touted as forward-thinking relies upon a computationally exhaustive and environmentally degrading mechanism. Moreover, the sheer volume of specialized mining hardware required for this digital gold rush leads to another overlooked environmental hazard: e-waste. These powerful machines designed to perform highly specific computations become obsolete with alarming rapidity as newer, more efficient models emerge. The mountains of discarded circuit boards, cooling systems, processing units represent a growing electronic graveyard, contributing to pollution and resource depletion, all in the name of securing a digital currency whose practical application we have yet to fully address. One might ponder whether securing a digital token is worth contributing to the planet's actual entropy. This brings us to the second equally crucial element of the dark side: the persistent lack of genuine utility beyond speculative trading. For all the utopian rhetoric surrounding cryptocurrencies as the money of the future, a truly transformative replacement for traditional currencies, their real-world application as a medium of exchange remains, shall we say, underwhelming. Despite nearly 2 decades of existence, paying for your groceries or your morning coffee with Bitcoin is still largely a novelty, an expensive experiment, or an impossibility. The reasons for this deficiency in utility are multifaceted. Firstly, the vaunted decentralization often comes at the cost of transaction speed and efficiency. Major cryptocurrencies designed for security and immutability are simply too slow to handle the volume of daily transactions required for a functioning global economy. Waiting 10 minutes or even an hour for a transaction to confirm is simply untenable for everyday commerce. Imagine trying to buy a coffee with a 5-minute confirmation time. Your caffeine addiction would remain perpetually unfulfilled. Secondly, transaction fees, especially during periods of network congestion, can be exorbitant. Paying $5 or even $50 to transfer a small amount of value completely negates the purported benefits of a cheaper, faster financial system. These fees often make microtransactions utterly impractical. Forcing users back into the arms of the traditional financial institutions these digital currencies were designed to supersede. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, the extreme volatility inherent in many cryptocurrencies renders them almost entirely unsuitable as a stable currency for everyday use. A currency whose value can fluctuate by 10, 20, or even 50% in a single day makes pricing goods and services an absolute nightmare for merchants and a financial gamble for consumers. Why would you accept payment in an asset that could be worth significantly less by the time you close your books at the end of the day? The argument shifts from money of the future to store of value, which, ironically, is often the very thing it fails to be during its crushing depths. While some cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies do offer niche applications or potential for future innovation, the overwhelming narrative, and indeed the vast majority of capital, remains focused on speculative trading. The promises of seamless cross-border payments, immutable records for supply chains, or truly censorship-resistant digital economies often remain theoretical or are executed with such inefficiency that existing solutions perform better. In conclusion, for all the revolutionary fervor and promises of a decentralized utopia, the cryptocurrency territory presents a profoundly conflicted picture. It champions a digital future while leaving a very real, tangible, and growing environmental footprint. It aspires to be the money of tomorrow, yet struggles to deliver the basic utility of today's fiat currencies. For the discerning North American, understanding this dark side of the coin is not about pessimism. It is about acknowledging the full spectrum of reality, beyond the relentless hype and the siren song of speculative riches. Ignoring these costs and deficiencies is not merely inconvenient. It is a luxury our planet and our financial sanity can ill afford.
Surviving the Wild West, how not to lose your shirt in the process.
All right, you intrepid digital prospectors. You've navigated the lawless plains where regulation expires, dodged the cunning traps set by financial predators, suffered through the dizzying highs and crushing lows of collective delusion, perhaps even pondered the environmental cost of your speculative dreams. Now, having witnessed the sheer unadulterated chaos of the cryptocurrency frontier, it is time for the ultimate question. How does one survive the Wild West without, shall we say, losing one's entire wardrobe, piece by agonizing piece? Fear not, for the trenches of this digital battleground have indeed yielded some invaluable, albeit brutally learned lessons. This is your guide on how not to lose your shirt in a market determined to separate you from your capital. The first and perhaps most cynical lesson is this. Assume everyone is out to get you. This is not paranoia. It is prudent risk management in an unregulated ecosystem. The promise of decentralization, while appealing in theory, means the absence of traditional intermediaries that offer recourse. No FDIC insurance, no SEC watching your back, no benevolent central bank to print money and bail you out. Your vigilance, dear North American investor, is your only true sheriff. Every link, every opportunity, every social media endorsement must be viewed through a lens of profound skepticism. If something seems too good to be true, it is not just probable. It is practically guaranteed to be a trap. Next, master the art of due diligence, not just as a recommendation, but as a survival instinct. This means going beyond the slick white papers and the carefully curated Telegram groups. Understand the underlying technology, if any exists. Who are the developers? Are they anonymous? Red flag, folks. A giant scarlet letter in this digital frontier. What problem does this particular digital token purport to solve? Is it a genuine problem, or simply a solution in search of a problem, fueled by hype?
Ow.
Do not let fear of missing out, FOMO, cloud your judgment. The loudest voices are often those with the most to gain from your participation, not your prosperity. A moment of sober research can save you years of financial regret. Another crucial lesson from the trenches is to understand the true nature of volatility. In traditional markets, a 5% swing is news. In crypto, it is Tuesday. What goes up like a rocket can, and often does, come down like a meteor. Not invest capital you cannot afford to lose entirely. This is not investment advice. It's a stark, unadulterated reality. Treat every dollar entering the crypto market as though it is already gone. If that thought makes you uncomfortable, then you are investing too much. Furthermore, resist the urge to constantly check prices. The emotional roller coaster is designed to make you make irrational decisions. Panicked selling at the bottom or greedy buying at the top are the hallmarks of those who eventually find themselves shirtless. Furthermore, diversification, while a common financial mantra, takes on a nuanced meaning in this Wild West. While it is wise not to put all your eggs into one digital basket, understand that many cryptocurrencies are highly correlated. When Bitcoin sneezes, the altcoin market often catches a severe cold, if not full-blown pneumonia. True diversification might mean limiting your overall exposure to this asset class, rather than simply buying 10 different speculative tokens. Your portfolio's health extends beyond the confines of the blockchain. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, know when to walk away. The narrative of hodling, holding on for dear life is romantic, but often ends in tears for those who fail to recognize market cycles. There is no shame in taking profits. There is no shame in cutting losses. The market does not care about your emotional attachment to a particular token or your hopes for a decentralized utopia. It is a harsh, unforgiving landscape. Set clear entry and exit strategies before you commit capital. Stick to them with unwavering discipline. Your digital assets are not your identity. Your financial survival depends upon a cold, rational approach, not unwavering faith. So as you venture forth into this cryptocurrency frontier, armed with these hard-won lessons, remember this: the Wild West is not for the faint of heart, nor for the poorly prepared. The promise of immense riches is often accompanied by an equally immense risk of total devastation. Your intelligence, your skepticism, and your discipline are the only reliable tools in this unregulated realm. Where the line between innovation and outright fraud is often blurred beyond recognition, survive by learning, adapt by observing, and always, always keep a tight grip on your financial trousers.
The digital death trap. Your brain is your only way out.
So there you have it. We have journeyed through the lawless plains of the cryptocurrency frontier, a digital Wild West where regulation goes to die. Scams proliferate like digital weeds. An irrational exuberance drives prices to fantastical heights and then, inevitably, to crushing depths. You have witnessed the environmental toll your decentralized dreams inflict, and learned the hard-won lessons from those who have already lost their shirts, their socks, and occasionally their entire digital wardrobes. This is not a bedtime story, dear North American investor. This is a stark, unfiltered look at a market that promises much, but delivers disproportionate ruin to the unprepared. The digital gold rush was never about gold for everyone. It was a cunningly designed transfer of wealth from the optimistic many to the shrewd, often unscrupulous few. Do not be cannon fodder. Now, the choice is yours. Will you shrug off these brutal truths, dismiss them as mere cynicism, and continue to chase the next meme coin to the moon, only to crash land in your depleted brokerage account? Or will you internalize these lessons? Will you arm your brain with relentless skepticism, hone your due diligence to a surgical edge, and deploy a financial discipline so rigid it would make a drill sergeant weep? Your financial survival in this digital jungle depends entirely on your ability to think, to question, and to resist the siren song of easy riches. Take these insights, apply them. Let every hyperbolic claim, every anonymous guru, every promise of 100 buy returns trigger an internal alarm, not a hasty click. Your critical thinking is not just an asset. It is your ultimate liability shield against the financial wolves. If you found this unfiltered tour through crypto's dark underbelly insightful, then do not let your journey end here. Your financial education is your best defense. Subscribe to this channel for more uncomfortable truths. Like this video to spread the brutal reality. Comment with your own survival stories or burning questions. Share this with anyone still believing in digital fairy tales. After all, a little financial wisdom goes a long way in a world determined to take your money.